Alright, we have done it. We have the framework for our StoryTap app. This is going to be priority number 1 at the Development Volunteer Day. We'll be getting this complete. And I'm going to quickly walk you through the app as soon as the Prezi loads here. It's going a little bit slow. There we go. Alright, so here we have it. This is our overall framework mapped out, similar to how we did with Ambiance Atlanta and the LoveTap apps. So again, we have our chapters here represented by the normal circles as well as the brackets. The bracket chapters are simply chapters that have no transition because they are our concluding chapters. Our chapters are also organized into a number of episodes. These episodes aren't sequential, right? They simply go between one another through these arrows, or our transitions. So what I'm going to do here is, this is a little bit complicated, but I'm going to try to walk you through the basic framework of what our StoryTap app is doing. So where do we start? Well, we always start at the same place. Episode 1, Welcome. More specifically, Chapter 1. Now Chapter 1 will be a sequence of HTML pages that always have a start and a beginning and always follow the same order. So here you might start and write, "Hi, welcome user, blah 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 blah." It will be better than that. We won't be saying blah. And we'll get here to our last page, our jump page, and use transition 1, which is a password that you go and get off the website. This password is actually going to let you into our character emporium, which is episode 2. And again, this is a single chapter episode, right? So the user is always going to see the same thing here. More or less, it's going to take them through the emporium and allow them to choose between 3 basic characters. These characters are going to be a cow named Antonella, Freddy the Frog, our original character, and our third, what was our third character? The frog, the cow, and Hyojin, that's right. Hyojin, the Korean tiger. Alright, so depending on which of those 3 you pick, the character choice, you're going to be introduced into a problem. Okay, so here's where it gets a little bit more complex, but stick with me here and it'll make perfect sense. So, our problem introduction. So, if we choose Antonella, we're going to be here in Chapter 3. If we choose Freddy, we're going to be here at Chapter 4 learning about Freddy's problem. If we choose Hyojin, we're going to be here in Chapter 5. And all this is going to do is introduce this overarching problem that our character is trying to solve. So let's use the example of Antonella, our cow. She's looking for her boots. So Antonella can't find her boots. She's back home in Italy looking for her boots. We developed the story a little bit, and the next step is, well, to find her boots, Antonella wants to go on an adventure. Well, that takes her to our vehicle selection. Okay, that's the next episode. This is a really important episode for us. It's very basic. 1, maybe 2 pages of information, and really all it is going to be is our ability to jump off onto our adventures. So you're going to choose between 3 vehicles: a surfboard, oh boy, blanking out again, should have written some of this down. A surfboard, a rocket ship, and a time machine. That's right, a surfboard, a rocket ship, and a time machine. And depending on 2 factors, you're going to wind up going to one of these 12 places. Wow, that's a lot, but these 12 right here. Okay, and so what are those 2 factors that determine where your vehicle choice takes you? Well, the first one is your character choice. So imagine these 3 branches being our 3 characters. So we have, this branch would be our cow, Antonella, this branch would be Freddy the Frog, and this branch would be Hyojin the Tiger. Then these 3 branches can go off into additional 3 ways. These 3 ways are based upon our vehicle selection. So Antonella plus surfboard takes us to Chapter 7, Antonella at the beach. Hyojin plus surfboard takes us to Chapter 9, Hyojin at the beach. Right? Antonella plus time machine would take us over here to Chapter 13, time warp. Or Freddy and time machine would take us to Freddy's time warp, Chapter 14. right? And so what we do here is our character is going to go, they're going to wind up somewhere for a little adventure, the beach or outer space or a time warp, and then they're going to be asked to solve a puzzle. So they're going to go through, they're going to learn a few things, and then they're going to solve a puzzle. From there, their episode is either going to be solved, which will take us to this one, and over here to the solved episodes, or unsolved, which will take us over here to our resolution. So right now we've only gone through the beach, so it's unsolved and Antonella. So if Antonella and unsolved will take us to 16, if Freddy and unsolved will take us to 17, and if Hyojin and unsolved will take us to 18. Now what the unsolved allows us to do is to continue our story by saying, well, good adventure, but our problem remains unsolved. Let's go on another adventure to see if we can solve it from there, something along those lines. And it's going to jump us back, again, through a tap or an SMS, into a new adventure, right? So it's going to take us back to this vehicle selection. The vehicle is going to take us to one of these adventures. Now, eventually, we're not going to be exiting through the unsolved, but through the solved, and that takes us to our final step here is once all three adventures have been solved, the character finally gets to read the final chapter of their story, the resolution story. Right, and so what we have here is a basic way to map through and to write each section of our story individually. So what we're actually doing right now is Maddie is taking this story and she's writing a chapter 1 PowerPoint, she's writing a chapter 2 PowerPoint, a 3, 4, 5, all the way through chapter 21. So each of these individual chapters is going to have a PowerPoint where each slide on the PowerPoint will represent our HTML page, right, which includes our graphics and our text. So what we'll do at the Development Volunteer Day is Gan will insert some of those graphics and perhaps a little bit of music and some good looking text to really make this story come to life. Now, I have another quick tool that I have created and will share with you in this email, and it's a basic overview, right, a basic map, a transition map of what we can do. And in this, so I've included, okay, chapter 1, what episode does this chapter fall under? This is really just a one chapter episode, the introduction. Nothing comes into this because this is our starting chapter. It can only go to chapter 2, right, the character Emporium, and you get there via a password. Or, you know, say from chapter 3, we introduce our problem, right, we got to chapter 3 through chapter 2, and it can only go to chapter 4. Excuse me, this should be chapter 6. I'll fix that before I send it out. Those 3 should all be 6. Right, because 6 is our vehicle. So 6, our vehicle selection, can come in from a number of chapters. Remember, we can get there from our intros, 3, 4, and 5. And we can also get there from our unsolved problem. It's 16, 17, and 18. And these are also the way to get to all of these. All 3 versions of the beach, represented by each character, and all 3 versions of outer space and time warp. Right, so they can go anywhere from 7 all the way to episode 15. Now within each episode, you get there, right, from the vehicle selection, and from there you either go back to your unsolved problem page or to your resolution page. So really we have a framework here that allows us to start, create a problem, go on a few adventures to solve that problem, and finally resolve that problem by the end of the story. So in terms of creating a linear story, this is really no problem. A couple of things that I still see is, one, do we want to have a replay value? Right now we don't have any way to continue the story from here because obviously there are no transitions to allow us to go back and say replay the outer space adventure if we want to, or replay the time warp adventure. An easy way to solve that would be to simply link us here, right, through maybe another tap, or since they've already completed the adventure, letting them do something really simple like choosing another password and going back, linking it back to the vehicle selection, which of course will allow us to go to any of our adventures again. Now where that's going to get a little bit trickier though is from the outgoing selection. We might need to write in a new episode with 3 additional chapters of a post-resolved continuum of adventure. Or we could simply take them back to the resolution and they can reread the resolution of their problem if they so choose. But that's something that we could probably solve day of. I can't see that creating too many problems. Another thing would be, do we want to be able to have multiple stories going on at once? That would have us require to do a saved profile, and that way you could have 3 stories going on at once of Hyojin, our tiger, Freddy the frog, or Antonella the cow all at the same time. I'm not sure exactly how we would incorporate that in. I would imagine it would be some kind of a profile that you would create a name for. And finally, playing back through the story, I know we've included that feature already, but at least for when we included that feature originally, I know we didn't have quite as complex of a framework laid out, so we would have to make sure that you'd have the ability to go back and replay everything you've done, or not include a replay feature. One of those two things. But in general, we have our framework here. We're going to have each of these chapters again represented by an individual slideshow presentation that we can then put some graphics in, and really from there the major challenges will be pulling our stories from the website onto the package of our mobile device and allowing our users to have the sense that they're involved in this process in some way through creation of a story. And the way I thought to do that would be on the website itself, have somewhere where you can write, submit stories, draw and submit characters, and have other people maybe like those stories that they like and comment on those stories to add to them. It could be a cool feature, and we could use popular stories from our website in future developer volunteer days to actually create them, bring them to life, and deliver them to our user base. So that's the basic framework. I'll share this Prezi and this Excel document with you. And if you could get back to me on some of those questions again that we had, which was the ability to play multiple stories at once, the ability to replay our stories, right, coming back here and having a new transition, and the ability to play back through our story. Just your thoughts on those 3 problems would be great, and I can't wait for tomorrow. It should be an exciting day.